Alright, this is Scotty with Sketchy's Garage. And today I'm going to show you how to final sand your panel, get it ready for paint. One quick tip, this is something that I ran into today, it's my mistake. I'm really bad about having the doors on these carts or these sawhorses or whatever you want to call them. And I had it flipped over the opposite way to where this was the side down. And most of the time I'm working by myself and I don't have someone to help me, so I'll just take and slide them along, and you see how it sits there and pops up and down. Well, I ended up putting a little ding in this crown of the fender, so just keep that in mind. If you can get someone to help you move stuff around, you'll save yourself a little bit of work. I was hoping that this was pretty much well ready to paint after I sanded it, but now I'm gonna have to spot prime that in. But anyways, we're gonna get started. First thing I'm going to do is just wipe my panel off, make sure I pull any gunk off of it. And I'm going to get started with a piece of 500. We're going a metallic color with this. So anytime you run into metallics, you want to make sure you final sand with at least 400. Or is as smooth as 600. I usually just stick around 500. So what I feel the most comfortable with. Some people say you can go with 800, but I've also heard a lot of people have problems with the paint not sticking real well. So I always stick at the 500 range. Being that it's going to be a metallic, we're going to go ahead and wet sand this. And what I mean by wet sand is just you'll have sandpaper, and you'll use a little bit of water on it. And what it does is it just makes the cut a little bit cleaner, and it doesn't make a lot of dust. All the other side of this has been painted and everything, so I'm not trying to get a big dust storm in it. So I'm just going to wet sand it out and then prime it, or wet sand it and then paint it. Whenever you're sanding, I like to just make an X pattern. Another thing is you could guide coat this if you wanted to, but basically all the body work's already been done, so I'm not really too concerned with that. I'm more just final sanding it to get the surface good and smooth so the paint lays down real nice. So I'm not really too worried about getting any little small imperfections that should have already been done in my other stages. Plus we got enough overspray from when we jammed it out that it serves as a guide coat anyways. So we're just gonna sand. One thing you want to make sure you do if you got a body line is you don't want to run over your body line. You don't want to do that number. You can run off of it like that, but if you tend to run over it, it's going to soften the line and it won't look as nice. So if you feel uncomfortable, you can take and run the tape line down that line on the side that you're not sanding, and that'll help keep you from messing it up if you happen to run over it. But after you do it a couple times, you'll be comfortable. And basically all I'm trying to do is get as little primer off as possible, but get it smooth. I don't want to break through a bunch of spots and see my metal down below it or the epoxy primer down below it. I'm just trying to get this primer smooth, so when the paint lays on there, it just lays nice and flat. I'll kind of show you what we got going on. This is what we're looking for. You see how this surface right here is nice and flat. You don't see no highs or no lows or nothing. That's all we're looking for. As soon as we get a surface that's like that, we just move on to the next spot. You see how we got this right here? See how we got the little black spots? That's little tiny miniature low spots. So we want to make sure we cut all that out. The biggest reason for that is if you was to leave it like that and you spray a metallic on top of it, it's going to look like a like a television that's not in tune, because the metallics are going to want to bunch up and concentrate in the lows, and then you're going to have the highs that don't have no metallics in it. So it's going to look, like I say, it'll look like a television that's not in tune. It'll just look fuzzy. If you was doing a solid color, you could get by with it, but still you want your surface as nice as possible. It just makes the paint job pop that much more. And the flatter and smoother you got this, the shinier your clear will be, because it's not breaking your clear into a bunch of different angles. It's just one sheet of clear, if that makes any sense. This step right here, I usually go real slow with it. I usually try not to seal. I like to paint on top of my final primer job, just because I don't like stacking a bunch of different layers. Say if I sand this and I break through all over the panel and I gotta use a sealer on top of it. A sealer is just another layer that you're gonna add texture with, and with a metallic, you want to try to get it down as smooth and flat as possible, because that's where you'll get your depth. If you can get it laid down there with it nice and flat, it'll look like it's 1,000 miles deep. This old car was my buddy's car. He drove it all through high school and stuff, and we had a lot of fun in it. Got in a lot of trouble in it. He called me a couple years ago and said he wanted to get it painted up, and I said, okay, no problem. He got it here, and we got the tearing into it, and it was a little bit rougher than we thought. Like say, in high school, he had the nicest car of all of us by tenfold. It was, like say, it was just a super nice car. Always was really fast. Like say, I think in 1990, it was either 96 or 97, we could run 630s in it on a regular hard radial. So it was legit. It's crazy. I don't know why it was so fast. There's really nothing super special about it, but it was just one of those cars that worked. It looked good. Had all the interior in it. It's kind of funny, we got a 68 Nova and took everything out of this and put it in there, and we gutted the Nova. It had Lexan windows. You know, thought we was fixing to do something, and it was like a half second slower. So we pulled everything back out, throw it in this, and went on with our business. So you guys out there, you kind of tell me about y'all's first cars. I think they kind of help mold us in who we are, especially if we're like a gearhead type. I know my car kind of helped me along the way. As you can tell, we're really concentrating not to break through on our edges. We just want to get all the surface smooth. That's the name of the game here. Another thing that'll help you is if you use a good primer. It'll help you on sand scratch. There's some 2K primers out there that are just hideous, man. It seems like you could sand them with 1,000 wet sand and you still have sand scratches. The primer I use, heck, I almost think you could paint over top of 180 and it'd be slick. Alright, we'll take and we'll wipe the door off from there. Kind of take a look and see if we got any lows hanging out. As you can see, we got a little bit right in here. We'll go ahead and sand on that just a little bit more. Get that cut out of there. Whenever you're working on a spot, say you just got a little spot right here, you just don't want to keep jamming it in there. You got to just work it in there, because you'll create a crater if you just keep on sanding like that. So you want to make sure you keep working it out. Wipe this off again. Take a look at it. As you see, it's pretty much good and smooth. About the last thing we'll do is we'll hang the panels on the car and everything, and then we'll hit this one more time. Usually just lightly with the scuff pad. We'll run over the edges and everything, and that pretty much will be ready for paint. We'll wipe it down, tack it off, and put some paint on it. One thing I do like to do whenever we do get a panel completely finish sanded with the 500, I like to take the rag and I'll wet the panel out. And now would be a good time to take a look at your panel. You know, you can sight across it, and you'll be able to see if you got any little ripples or waves or anything going on. So see, looks pretty straight. One thing you want to make sure you don't do is don't put too much water on it, because it will camouflage it. The best thing to do is just to put a damp rag on it, wipe it just to fuzz. Let it dry for a second, then come back and take a look at it. Alright guys, tell me what you think in the comments below. I'll make a deal with y'all. If y'all want to see me finish sand the rest of the cab out, I'm going to have to get 30 thumbs up. So if you guys want to see that, hit the thumbs up button. If not, I understand. You guys have a good day. Talk to you later.